find drugs anywhere. They lock up however many drug dealers or drug peddlers or drug users that you can, and there'll always be more. It's in our high schools, it's in our neighborhoods, it's in the nice neighborhoods, the bad neighborhoods, it's down the street. I'm sure somebody has drugs in this parking lot right now.
I'd heard of needle exchange programs. I've never actually seen how they work. They don't give out the drug heroin, right? These needle exchange programs are going to give you all the supplies that you need. They're going to give you the needles, they're going to give you clean cotton swabs, they're going to give you the fresh and clean cooking plates. They also give you Narcan. It's a life-saving drug for anyone who's overdosing on heroin. Because it is illegal, they do essentially have to work in the dark and work in the shadows. So they set up these pop-up little locations, these pop-up needle exchanges.
Do you need a tourniquet?
They invited me along for the entire process, so we met up with them in the afternoon, and we showed up to this vacant parking lot in the East Valley. And within a matter of 30 minutes, he set up this little table and started packaging up all the needles and the cotton swabs. And the moment 5 o'clock struck, a line of cars started to show up in this parking lot.
All right, man, well, you stay safe. You have a good night.
Appreciate what you're doing, George.
I was shocked because the people I saw showing up to this needle exchange program shattered every stereotype that I thought a heroin user was.
It's a hard fight, and I've had 13 friends lose their lives because of this. You know, people I've grown up with, people I've known all my life, and they're gone. It's just, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just a battle.
It is really hard, and every time there was a bottom, you know, your rock bottom, it got deeper. Every time.
Every single person who shared their story with me at this needle exchange, I asked them the same question. How did you end up here? How did you end up in a vacant parking lot asking for clean needles? Every single one of them said it all started with a prescription for painkillers. And when the painkillers ran out, they immediately sought out dope. They immediately sought out heroin.
It started with an injury. I had a shoulder injury at my job I was at for 7 years. I was on prescription pain meds for almost 5 to 6 years.
I had been using prescription pain pills for, I know it's the story that everybody has, and every time I quit and it got started again, it was like I picked up right where I left off, if not a little bit lower. For about a year, I was abusing my prescription pain pills, snorting them, running out, and it was a lot easier to sell them and buy heroin, but I was a preschool teacher. I taught for 12 years. I can no longer teach now. That picture is our first Halloween together.
She showed up, got her needles, got her clean supplies, and I pulled her aside and I said, can I ask you a little bit about your story? How did you end up here? And she says it all started with a prescription for pain pills. And when her prescription to pain pills ended, she said she needed a fix, and she started using heroin. And I said, how bad has it gotten for you? And she says she was a Valley preschool teacher, and she was just fired from her job because she was addicted to heroin. And she just lost custody of her son because she's addicted to heroin. And I said, then why don't you stop? She said, if I could, I would, but I can't.
The hard days are a lot harder when you're using, but when you're on the streets and your priority is drugs before food, but you're starving, and people can just look at you and know, it's really hard.
What's it like being addicted?
Well, it's like having a set of permanent handcuffs on you, and you can only go so far. You don't want to struggle, you don't want to fight, you want to go the easy route. That's just how it works.
There are critics out there who say these people are doing nothing but enabling heroin users to continue to use.
I think the Pollyanna perspective is that you can help someone use drugs safely. when the use of those drugs is going to lead to their death.
Do you think that essentially needles are a gateway to saying yes to heroin?
If you're already using heroin in the first place, then yes. Really? I mean, think about that question.
No, they're going to reuse needles, right? They're going to reuse dirty needles. It's not like a heroin addict's going to stop using heroin because they don't have a clean needle, correct?
Correct, yeah. So what I'm saying is you're already using heroin. Giving someone another needle isn't helping them stop from using heroin.
But it could prevent them from at least contracting Hep C and using a dirty needle or even HIV.
And what I'm telling you is that there are conflicting studies that show whether or not that really does occur.
I am one of those people that has Hep C, and I thankfully found out, but having something like Shot in the Dark is that hope that we can prevent spreading that to every other person.
The needle exchange program will simply say, they're not here to solve the opioid epidemic. People are going to use heroin. What they want to do is minimize the risk of the spread of Hep C and HIV to keep these users alive as long as possible, with the hope, if you keep them alive, then maybe one day they'll stop using.
There are some people out there who will say, listen, handing out needles, syringes, Narcan isn't solving the opioid crisis that we have here in the Valley. What do you say to those people?
I would say, one, what's your solution?
I know that this story will open people's eyes to the side of the opioid epidemic that they have never seen before. It will shatter every stereotype you have of a heroin user, because something like this has never been told on local TV.